So it's the 22nd of April 2026, and we're here at the Downing Centre on the corner of, where are we? I guess it's Elizabeth and Liverpool Street. And there's a protest, or there will be a protest here this morning. I've got it all set up for speakers, but they are protesting about the people that were arrested on the 9th of February for the Herzog protest. Now that the laws have been challenged and proven unconstitutional, in the middle there is Josh Lees, who led the way to take that to the Supreme Court and have that overturned. So you got a few cops here. A small gathering. I mean, they put it out there in their media that it would be happening, but this doesn't, their own private media, I should say, but there doesn't seem to be any mainstream media here at all. There's one guy who's at a lot of things, well, I don't quite know what he is, but there's some people just walked up from the MUA, which is down the road, Maritime Union Australia, but there's just not many came up for that, and it's just the regular kind of group here, and then the cops that run the protests, the ones that are generally in charge of the protests, they're kind of in the doorway here, blocking any access and making sure no one gets in there. And you got more out here and then more up there, and that's the one mainstream media guy in the middle there. I think he's independent media, but his stuff goes on the mainstream media, I think. That's it. So that's it for now. I guess we'll listen to what they have to say for their speeches. They have a sign. Let's have a look what that says. Sign says sanction Israel now, scrap the anti-protest laws, and globalise the Intifada. Well, the anti-protest laws have been scrapped, but I think they're now the next fight for them will be about the phrases and the slogans which we've seen in Queensland lately. They're not allowed to say from the river to the sea. And there's been a lot of interesting stuff about it going on, and I think Minns wants to certainly criminalise a few of the slogans here as well. So let's see how it goes. There's a few more arriving. I mean, it's 8:30 in the morning. It's a little early for most of these people, but there's a few getting here now. I'm assuming the court cases, it's very hard to find out what time what's on and where and who's who, and I don't know. How do you find out looking at all that? But unless you know their names. Anyway, so let's see how it all goes. All right, that's enough chit-chat. It's a very vague sort of fill-in of what's going on. We'll wait and hear the speeches.
Hello. All right, let's go up.
So it'll be fine.
We'll just do it here.
All right, it's about to start. They're just getting a bit of a sound check.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Stop the War on Palestine's rally, calling for the charges against the Herzog arrestees to be dropped. Just like to start with a chant. So, from the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
All right, thanks everyone. Just like to acknowledge that we're protesting today on the stolen lands of the Gadigal people. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Aboriginal land.
The fight against racism and for land rights continues. And just wanted to point out as well that at the same time that Minns has been criminalising protests, passing unconstitutional laws, he's overseen the highest Indigenous incarceration rate ever in New South Wales, and it's the same government and the same police force that are brutalising Indigenous people that brutalise us as we protest against genocide. So it really is one struggle and one fight against this rotten government and police force. So just like to start with Sylvie from the Greens. She's a councillor at City of Sydney.
Hello, good morning everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. My name's Councillor Sylvie Ellsmore. I'm a Greens councillor on the City of Sydney Council. I've got some notes if it's okay to read them. I'm proud to say that I'm part of a council that has consistently stood with the right to protest, that has stood for accountability for the police violence, and has stood for the repeal of the undemocratic laws that try and criminalise and block our right to protest, particularly in the heart of the city, near our institutions like Parliament and Town Hall, where protest is more important to speak to power than ever. I also want to acknowledge that we're meeting today on unceded Gadigal country, and I want to acknowledge the Aboriginal leaders and activists that have been at the forefront, who continue to stand on the front line for justice and standing up to power, and particularly in relation to these protests, and a number of whom were brutalised and charged at the after the Sydney Town Hall protest, and who are facing charges still today. I also want to thank everyone for turning up. I mean, I know a number of faces, and there is a particular thing that happens with people who are known as the usual suspects, who will always stand up, and the things that the police and the state think they'll be able to do and get away with because no one will pay attention and no one is watching. And the fact that people and you continue to stand up and speak out, particularly at this time when the state is escalating its crushing of dissent and violence, is so important. We're at a turning point in terms of what the state and this Minns government in particular thinks it can get away with, and you being here today, despite threats even to your physical safety that we know, is so important. And I want to say thank you to the unions, to the activists, to the Palestine activists, to the socialists, to the Greens that are here and have been doing this work. It is vital and it is so important, so thank you. Sorry, I'm a bit slow with my speaking notes. So I want to say, obviously we're here today to talk about the Supreme Court challenge and the fact that the protesters should have charges dropped against them. I want to acknowledge Josh and the others who were successful in winning that Supreme Court case, acknowledging that these laws were unconstitutional. And it is outrageous that these protesters who have been charged, many of them been charged after the actual event, of the police and the state have tried to justify that it must have been violence caused by the protesters rather than police. Clearly we've got to have some people charged to back that up. But the fact that now the number of them are still being charged under laws that are proved to be unconstitutional, and the state and Minns in particular has come out this week saying, I'm going to back that in, I think it'll still be okay. We hope they will change their mind, and your voices here today are part of making sure that we keep the pressure on and that actually happens. So I don't know if anyone is here with us. I think we've got some people speaking who are being charged under those laws today, maybe. So solidarity to you. Obviously I'm part of the Greens. The Greens in New South Wales Parliament have been working obviously not just to make sure that these rules are repealed, but the raft of other laws that we now have in New South Wales that make this the hardest place to protest in Australia, that has been building up, particularly under the Minns government. That it's not just about acknowledging what happened at the Herzog protest, where people who turned up because they wanted to say that it's not okay that we, as the Australian government and the New South Wales government, is giving support to the Israeli government's genocide in Gaza, that it's not okay that we are hosting, we would host a head of state from a country that was committing war crimes, who turned up to peacefully protest. A lot of people, that was their first protest. That those laws and criminalisation around that is something that if we, sorry, we've got a bit of a head cold, so we're working through. That not just the accountability for the police for that particular protest, but that if we don't hold the line on telling the story of what happened there, that we know that it's going to happen again. One of the things a lot of people have talked to me about is how that protest seemed like a training exercise. We, regulars who go to protests like us, I know a number of you have, you get used to that moment where the cops who are lurking around the corner in the riot gears get the go button. When they come in, the ones who are used to practicing violence, when that particular look on their faces, where they know that what they're doing, they know they've been given the right to teach the protesters a lesson, try and make sure that people get roughed up in a way that means they won't do it again. And we all saw the moment that happened at that protest, when they come in like riot cops, charged like they're army officers, started to push people around. What was part of the chaos of what was caused by police at that protest this time was there were a whole bunch of new cops that clearly hadn't done that before. There were a bunch of cops who'd been bussed in from other areas, including Newcastle, where they hadn't been able to stop the protests against the climate action and for Rising Tide legends, who were being taught how to hurt people. That was part of what that protest was about. That was a lot of people's first experience at a protest, but it was also the Minns government training up a whole bunch of new cops about how to hurt people. And that is why it is particularly important that we hold the line and tell the story about what happened at that protest. Because if we go back to a situation where the next group of cops can hurt people and it's just the usual suspects and the media don't pay attention, it becomes normalised. They're planned to up the ante so that it becomes normalised to have that kind of violence at every one of the protests. This is why the work that you are doing, standing up doing, is so vital. This is the line. You are holding the line. We stand with you as the Greens. We stand with you for a free Palestine. Thank you for the work that you are doing.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Awesome, thank you so much, Sylvie. I think it's very true that the police and the government, they wanted to scare us off the streets that night when the war criminal and Israeli President Isaac Herzog was in town, getting toured around the country by Albanese and getting put in town hall, in the ICC by Chris Minns. But I think on that night, 20,000 of us showed that we wouldn't be silent, we wouldn't be intimidated, and we will keep fighting until the ties between our government and the genocidal state of Israel are cut. So the other demands for our rally aren't just for the charges to be dropped. We want the whole anti-protest legal system to be cut as well. We want no ban on the chant "globalise the Intifada" either. Because, you know, you look at what's happening in Queensland, they're trying to ban from the river to the sea, globalise the Intifada. There's nothing wrong with chanting these phrases. They're calls for freedom and justice from the river to the sea for Palestinians. And we also want justice for all victims of police violence on the night of the Herzog protest. And one of those arrested was a MUA member, a Maritime Union of Australia member. So we're very happy to have Paul Keating, who's the branch secretary of the Sydney branch of the MUA, speak with us this morning. So,
firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on stolen land, land that was never ceded. And there will be no justice for the working class until we stand alongside our First Nations peoples and fight for their justice. And only then will justice then be served for the working class. Our struggles are interconnected. Like what we see here today, I commend everyone that's turned out. Chris Minns and his government are morally bankrupt. They brought in or supported laws and went further than those laws to criminalise our right to protest. Right to protest against bad governments, right to protest against war, right to protest for justice for First Nations peoples, right to protest for women's rights, for workers' rights, and for so many more. We see a system, and it's important to call out the police. We see a system where these laws have criminalised our right to protest. And connected directly to that is the brutal attacks on ordinary working class people, ordinary people, men, women, young, old. We've seen at that rally, at the Herzog rally, a president of a state, a pariah state, Israel, committing genocide on the Palestinian people, a president who himself has incited genocide through his own words and his actions. And we came out in our tens of thousands across the country. We came out because we know what is right, and what we stand for is for humanity and justice and equality for all. I call out the police because with these anti-protest laws has seen the police act in such abhorrent ways of violence and brutality. And that's cowardice. I'm going to say it's cowardice. They don't like it, and I don't really give a fuck about what they like or not, to be honest. The question here is about morality too. And we all know what is, as working class people, the values that we stand for. It's collective values. We don't go down the street and bash someone. You know, we don't grab hold of an old person and drag them to the ground. We would act to stop that. There is never a reason for the police to do it, and they must be condemned for it. And the police must stand on the side. Yeah, you know, a lot of them will say, okay, well, it was our bosses that said, do what you want. You know, this is what you can do it. nothing will happen to you. Well, for all those police, what are you? You're a follower, are you? You go back to your communities, your neighbour looks at you the wrong way, what do? Punch him in the face? Or grab the old woman and drag him down to the ground because I'm a walloper? You see, it's very important that we call this out. The Minsk government is morally bankrupt, and every politician that does not call out these anti-protest laws don't deserve to serve the people of this state or their constituencies. The Maritime Union of Australia stands against these laws. We stand with our communities, and we will continue to be vocal. We will continue to fight. On that day, on that rally, protesting against this President of Israel, we had a lot of members come out. We had our veterans, led by our national president of the veterans of the MUA. And we seen it wasn't just one comrade that was pulled out, and I stand alongside Penny Howard here, who was dragged out, pushed to the ground, treated in the most disgusting way. I've got to tell you, imagine doing that to your children, or your neighbours, or your family. The police have no right in doing it. And we had a veteran. We had a veteran of the MUA who through his whole life has stood on the line, fighting for workers' rights, fighting for what we believe in, fighting against the brutality of this genocide being committed by the Israeli state in Gaza. Fight for all the causes that we believe in, that the working class believe in. He was dragged out, manhandled, punched. This is a veteran, you know, a veteran, a retired worker. And his crime, like everyone that was arrested that day, was to stand to say, we don't want politicians or presidents that have incited genocide or belong to a state that's an apartheid state that dehumanises its indigenous population, the rightful people of the land, the Palestinian people. That was the crime that everyone that came out that day, those that stood there that were dragged out of the line. So I was there, you know, with our members from Sydney and around the country to be testament to what happened as well. And we will be here all the way through until these laws are repealed and removed. It's a stain on this state. It's a stain on this country. The undemocratic nature of it allows for the police to do with impunity what they want to the people of this country. And we must condemn it. We will condemn it. The MUA will not be silent, and we will be out campaigning on politicians if they don't stand on the side of what's decent. If they stand on the side of these laws, they are an enemy of the working class in our communities. Thank you. MUA here to stay.
It's been awesome standing in solidarity with the MUA side by side, fighting for justice for the Palestinians, whether it was at the rally against Isaac Herzog in February or at the Zim blockades earlier on when the genocide started, trying to stop the Israeli ships from docking in Sydney's and Australia's ports. Just wanted to start or try a new chant, a variation of an existing one before we hear from our next speaker. So it's the 1, we are the people. 2, Mins is complicit. 3, drop the charges now. Think we got it? All right. 1, we are the people. 2,
Mins is complicit.
3,
Drop the charges now.
1,
We are the people.
2,
Mins is complicit.
3.
Drop the charges now.
That was awesome. Thanks, everyone. So, next up on the speaking list, we've got Adam from Stop the War on Palestine. Thank you everyone for coming out today to stand in solidarity with those who have been targeted and arrested for standing up to genocide. And we stand here in the wake of a court decision that has exposed Chris Minns' laws, which are used to justify unleashing that brutal violence in defence of a genocidal war criminal, were completely unconstitutional. He stands condemned. He should resign immediately. All the charges should be dropped, and there needs to be justice for the people brutalised and injured on the streets of their own city, standing against genocide that night. Shame Chris Minns. Everyone that stood against genocide that night can hold their heads even higher. And Minns, Albanese, the police and the rest of these scum can hang their heads in shame. Let's not forget it was Minns that engineered the police violence. FOIs from The Guardian showed his staff were in the police command centre. He said after the brutal violence was beamed around the world that the police were only doing what he told them to do. And we did see what he told them to do. Break a 69-year-old's vertebrae in the street. Put Abigail Boyd, a Greens MP, in a neck brace, bash Muslims while they were praying. And he did it all saying protesters were the criminals. He is the criminal. And we should celebrate the court decision. It is a victory against his anti-democratic, pro-genocide agenda. But we should also remember the old union saying, we can't win in the courts what we can't hold at the gate. We can't keep in the courts what we can't defend in the streets. And that is the importance of the stand tens of thousands of people took on February 9. They said surrender town hall. Tens of thousands said no. They said surrender the streets and don't march. Tens of thousands said we will march. And despite their cowardly, disgusting violence, despite their intimidation, by the end of the night, thousands marched on those streets that they wanted to reserve for a genocidal war criminal, and every one of those people should be proud. That's our insurance policy against those laws. That's the force we need to make sure they never, ever come back. But I want to remind ourselves of what Minns was protecting that night. Since the genocidal war criminal Herzog visited Australia, Israel, the state he is a supreme representative of, passed a death penalty execution law where Palestinians who've been tried in Israeli military courts, and it's only Palestinians, it's a racist law, can be executed by hanging, and the courts they're trialled in have a conviction rate that is over 99%. Israel doesn't have a justice system. It has a genocidal conveyor belt of death, and that's what Minns was protecting that night. Last Tuesday, Israel bombed Gaza, killing 11 people. They killed a 3-year-old in that bombing. They've killed so many Palestinian kids, their graves would fill the Sydney cricket ground 5 times. Israel's admitted killing 70,000 Palestinians now. That is what the disgrace of a Premier, Chris Minns, was protecting with unconstitutional laws on February 9. And it's not Netanyahu who's in front of a court. It's not Herzog. It's not Minns. It's not the accomplices. It's not the genocide profiteers. To the eternal disgrace of this government, it is the anti-genocide protesters who are in front of a court. I'll say it again, Chris Minns, your laws are entirely unconstitutional. You are disgraced. Resign and drop the charges now.
And we've seen now what Chris Minns encouraged by rolling out the red carpet to Herzog. The genocide, the mass murder has now spread to Lebanon, it's spread to Iran, where we've seen mass carpet bombing of civilian areas by Israel, by Trump in the United States. When Trump said he was going to annihilate a people, he was echoing Isaac Herzog, who said there are no innocent people in Gaza. And now the same working people of New South Wales who were bashed in the street by Chris Minns' police are the ones who are paying for this war by Trump and Israel every time they go to the shops, when they pay the mortgage, when they go to the petrol bowser. You are being rewarded for Minns and Albanese's complicity. Shame. And he can't even roll out the bare minimum crumbs to ease the pain on working people. No free public transport, no rent caps. He's a disgrace. The only free public transport he's ever offered is in one of the police paddy wagons after he violates your constitutional rights. And we also need to say, this war that has been defeated is only one part of Minns' repressive agenda, his anti-democratic agenda. He wants to copy Queensland where they're dragging people off the streets for saying from the river to the sea. He wants to ban the phrase globalised intifada. Intifada means uprising. It refers to the courageous history of Palestinian resistance against genocide and occupation. And so long as our government is complicit in that genocide and occupation, we will say and we will globalise the Intifada. I just want to finish by talking about Palestine. This week in al-Qir, in the occupied West Bank, Israeli settlers rolled out razor wire to stop school children using the path they have used to get to school for decades. They rolled out razor wire, but when the kids tried to walk round that razor wire with their little backpacks to get to school, the Israeli occupation forces, the military, shot tear gas and stun grenades at those kids, some of them 5 years old. The month before, in the same area, a 5-year-old was mowed down by a settler in their vehicle.
Justice.
That's who the Bisalloy armoured steel from Wollongong goes to. That's who the F-35 parts from Bankstown go to. That's who the intelligence from Pine Gap goes to. But in the eyes and the perverted view of our Premier Chris Minns, that's not the crime. Calling for resistance is. Calling for an end to genocide is. So as long as our government's part of that genocide, so long as they arm the terror state of Israel, we will say globalise the Intifada. If he tries to bring those laws to New South Wales, we'll follow the example of Queensland, will resist, and will kick them into the same garbage bin as his anti-protest laws. Free Palestine, globalise the Intifada, drop every single charge.
From Gadigal to Gaza, globalise the Intifada. From Gadigal to Gaza,
Globalise the Intifada!
from Gadigal to Gaza.
Globalise the Intifada!
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so we've got a few more speakers left, but yeah, I think the terror that we're seeing in Lebanon, the destruction of Iran, it's all part of the US and Israeli imperial project for the region to try and dominate it, to control the flow of oil, and to get their way no matter what, whether it's through illegal wars, genocide, or apartheid. And our government at the state and federal level is more than happy to support that project. So we're going to do everything we can to cut every single tie between Australia and the terror state and US imperialism. And to that end, our next speaker is going to be Vince Caughley from the NTEU. NTEU. The NTEU nationally now has a BDS position, boycott, divestment and sanction position, because there's actually many ties between Australian universities and Israeli universities and the weapons companies that profit from the genocide. So we're very glad to have Vin speak with us today.
Thanks. Before I start, acknowledging that we are on stolen Aboriginal land, always was, always will be. Friends and comrades, on behalf of NTEU members across New South Wales, from the Tweed to Albury, we say drop these charges. The laws used to shut down legitimate protest against a head of state and opposing a genocide, outrageous state violence against Palestinian people have now been struck down, and we welcome that. Sometimes there's a semblance of sanity, but as one of the protesters who was there on that night, as someone who was pepper sprayed, I saw friends, comrades beaten up. When we brought union flags back to the office, one of our flags was smeared in blood. Shame. We cannot underestimate what took place. Laws that should never have ever been introduced in this country were enforced with state violence. And we know this was never just about one protest and one moment. It forms, it seems, part of a pattern of governments squeezing the democratic space, the space in which we all operate, the democratic space where we organise, where we express dissent, where we protest, where we gather collectively. That is why these charges must be dropped. Now, to be clear, the court's decision may not automatically dispose of every charge, all right? But the political point is clear enough. People were policed and prosecuted under a legal framework that has now been ruled invalid. The charges must be dropped. That's right. But this goes to something, as we know, bigger than one protest. It goes to whether governments can reach for sweeping powers to restrict assembly, to restrict our right to dissent, whenever protest becomes politically, for them, inconvenient. It's a reflex. We cannot let this be normalised, because once that political muscle is exercised, it's going to be used again and again. The union movement has always understood that collective and public dissent is one of the ways working people hold governments to account. We've proved it time and again for over a century. Now, in the wake of the Herzog protest, I moved a resolution at Unions New South Wales, the peak New South Wales union body, on behalf of the NTEU, defending the right to peaceful protest, calling for the laws to be repealed. Well, that worked. And the union movement to work with all the affiliates and civil society organisations to protect, wherever we must, the right in practice, our democratic rights to protest and dissent. And I'm happy to say, comrades and friends, it was passed unanimously. Now, I should say as well, when I say unanimously, I mean with the support as well of the Police Association. Now, if that doesn't tell you how bad the laws were, and what a shameful, shameful approach from this Min's state government was, nothing will. But we should be under no illusion, and we aren't, that this won't be the last time a government in the current context attempts to wind back the democratic space. As we've seen in Queensland, where many of, or most of my family live, where I escaped from, if governments are prepared to restrict protest in this way, they keep looking for ways to further squeeze the democratic space by policing the language, our language, by telling us what slogans we can use and deciding which political expression is allowed and which isn't. And as others have said, this has to be the line we draw. NTEU members, unanimously, with you, will never accept governments deciding what can be said, where we protest, and where we protest. We stand with you. We say the charges must be dropped, and we say this clearly. And with the broader union movement, with the full weight of the union movement, we'll continue to protect the right to speech, the right to dissent, and the right to protest. Freedom for Palestine, solidarity to you all. Drop the fucking charges.
Alright, let's try that new variation of the chant again. 1, we are the people. 2,
Minns is complicit.
3,
Drop the charges now, 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 now.
1,
We are the people.
2,
Minns is complicit.
3.
Drop the charges now, 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 now.
Alright, thanks everyone. Just got a few speakers left still, so we'll just whiz through them. Sienna Hopper is one of the arrestees of the night of the rally against Herzog. So she's going to tell us her experiences and the fight for
that were on unceded Gadigal land. Thankfully, the judge acknowledged that it was unreasonable for the police to ban me from the city, so I'm actually allowed to be here today, thankfully. What we saw on February 9th was a wake-up call. We were on the streets begging our government to acknowledge the humanity of people in Palestine and do something about it. Something that we've been campaigning for, people long before me have been campaigning for, and it's just ramped up since 2023. Yet our government has still done nothing. Anyone who chooses to impose violence on people in the streets begging to recognise the humanity of victims of genocide, they have stripped themselves of their humanity. Anyone who is on the streets that day can attest to the fucking rabid looks on the faces of the cops that were there. That was not an act of humanity. And this is absolutely shocking behaviour, but it cannot be surprising. And if you're surprised, I don't know, you need to pay more attention to the news or something. Because this is what they're designed to do, and this is something that our Indigenous people have been experiencing for 200 years, and it hasn't stopped. Just last week, we saw a 13-year-old girl tackled by a plainclothes police officer in WA on the train. 2 women, Indigenous women, have died in a month in Banjup prison.
Shame!
This is something we cannot continue to be silent about. Although many of us are speaking up, anyone who isn't, your silence is complicity. By failing to condemn this, you're agreeing that it's okay. Because this is happening and it will continue to happen. And there's nothing more radicalizing than fucking trauma. This is time. We need to embrace this. The fact that they're giving such disproportionate responses shows how fucking scared they are. The public opinion is not in their favour. Everyone sees through the lies of colonial governments all over the world, especially Israel, and implicitly by Australian government as well. I'll keep it quick, but thank you for everyone showing up today. Thank you. From Gadigal to Iran to Lebanon to Gaza. Globalise the fucking intifada.
Gaza, globalise the intifada. From Gadigal to Gaza.
Globalise the intifada.
From Gadigal to Gaza.
Globalise the intifada.
Awesome, thanks Sienna. Yeah, we've got to keep fighting for justice for Palestinians and fighting against the brutality of the cops. Up next, we've got Josh Lees from the Palestine Action Group, one of the groups that was part of the constitutional challenge that was successful alongside the Black Caucus and Jews Against Occupation. So yeah, here's Josh.
Oh yeah, so we all know for the last 2.5 years we've protested in huge numbers around this country against the genocide in Gaza, against endless wars waged by Israel and the United States across the region. And of course all of that for 2.5 years has been supported by our government, has been armed and funded by our government and their ongoing two-way arms trade with the genocidal regime in Israel and with all the rotten military deals they have with the United States, which are ramping up and up and up. And for that 2.5 years, instead of standing with us against war and genocide, of course, our governments and all of our authorities have stood on the side of genocide and war criminals and done everything in their power to try to silence and criminalise anti-genocide protest movements. That is an utter disgrace, and that is why we're in this situation today of endless attacks on our democratic rights, accompanied by endless support for war after war after war. And we know what that looks like in Gaza, we know what that looks like in Lebanon, Iran, across the region. We know what it looks like in the West Bank now, where the latest atrocity I saw yesterday, or it's been going on a long time, but another report about how Israel, the IDF and settlers are routinely using sexual violence against the inhabitants of the West Bank as part of their ethnic cleansing strategy to drive people out, to force people to leave, people, men, women, children being raped basically and sexually assaulted by Israeli settlers and by dogs and all the rest of it. This is the nature of the state that our government continues to support and fund and arm. And that is what we've been opposing this whole time. Now, of course, we know what that looks like at home as well. It means endless attacks on our rights. It means we're about to have a big announcement from the government today about how they are slashing billions of dollars in support for disabled people in this country so that instead they can spend billions more on the war machine. This is the sick priorities of our system today. This is the sick priorities of a Labor government, both federal and state. And of course, this is what we've been taking a stand against, and we know, and we've said all along, that support, endless support for a genocidal fascist regime across the other side of the world can only result in more and more attacks on our society, on our basic democratic rights here, and you know, the rise of racism, Islamophobia, everything else that we see going on around us. Now, of course, we had a good win in the court last week, a really significant win, and I want to give a shout out to the other plaintiffs in the case, Paul Silva and Lizzie Jarrett from the Black Caucus, of course. Huge shout out to them, huge shout out to the massive and amazing legal team who worked really hard to get this win, and a really big shout out to the people who I think were crucial to winning this case, to winning this legal victory, to defend our democratic rights, and that is to the over 20,000 people who turned up on the 9th of February to protest against Isaac Herzog. In the face of all the threats, in the face of all the lies, over 20,000 people came out, and that is what won the case last week. Let's be clear, these things are always political. These cases are political cases, at least as much as they are legal cases and constitutional cases. And we won that political battle on the 9th of February. Now, of course, the outcome of that case must be that the cops have to drop the charges. It's the minimum they should be doing. The only people facing criminal investigations from the night of the 9th of February should be the police themselves for the violence they unleashed, for the assaults, for the denial of our democratic rights, which the police unleashed against thousands and thousands and thousands of peaceful protesters and of people, in prayer and all the rest of it. And of course, we blame not just the rank and file cops, but the chain of command, the police commissioner, the police minister, Yasmin Caughley, and of course, Chris Minns, especially himself. And Minns had the nerve to come out a couple of days ago and say that protesters need to take responsibility. He's the fucking premier who passed these laws, who sent the cops in to bash and hospitalise and pepper spray and deny our rights, all based on laws which he knew were going to be found to be unconstitutional. He is the one who needs to take responsibility, and he needs to resign. Now, we know the police are trying to cling You know, they know that they've lost their legal powers now that they used on the night that they used to ban other protests as well in the months before. Now they're trying to cling to their one little legal fig leaf they have left, which is, of course, the outrageous and ludicrous, really, declaration of a major event under this obscure piece of legislation, the Major Event Act, which they invoked 2 days before the protest to try to declare all of Sydney was now part of a major event called the visit of Isaac Herzog, genocidal war criminal, this guy who incited genocide in Gaza. That's what they're trying to cling to now. Now, we should be clear, it's only a matter of time, I think, before those powers are also struck down and found to be completely invalid, because the invocation of the Major Event Act was absolutely ludicrous. This was a piece of legislation which, you know, never should have been passed itself, but which was clearly designed to be used for major sporting events and cultural events and so on. Now, people might remember we tried to challenge that on the day of the protest. You know, as I said, they only announced it 2 days beforehand. And, you know, there was a judgment in that case which went against us. But that judgment was, well, I believe very faulty. Two key things the judge said in that. One is that the visit of Isaac Herzog was a cultural event. A cultural event. Let's not forget Isaac Herzog met with ASIO while he was here. Let's not forget he brought a coterie of people with him who, while they were here, were trying to do business deals to spruik investment in illegal Israeli settlements in the West Bank. He met with political leaders and he made political speeches justifying genocide and calling for the strengthening of ties between Australia and Israel. This is not a cultural event. This is a political tour by a head of state invited here by another head of state. So that is clearly wrong. The other thing that the judge said in that case was that, oh, you have to assume that even though, yes, the powers we're giving the police are very wide-ranging, you have to assume that the police will use them reasonably. Yeah, well, we all saw how that ended up. And the other thing to say is the judgment in that case rested heavily, and the argument of the government in that case rested heavily on the existence of the other powers already being in place, which have now been ruled unconstitutional, and the fact that we didn't have time to challenge those powers on constitutional grounds, again, because they only announced it 2 days before. So anyway, there's a lot of detail in that, but the point is, the only thing the cops are still clinging to justify these charges is itself bound to be struck down in one way or another sometime soon, I think. So that's very important. Of course, the cops, it's not just that they haven't dropped the charges, they're charging more people. This is outrageous. We have a situation now where bloody Ben Robert Smith can walk free while they're launching dawn raids against anti-genocide protesters. This is a despicable situation. We know why they're doing that. They're doing that to try to back up Chris Minns' narrative that protesters are to blame for violence, and they need a bunch of bullshit charges to try to make that argument and to try to undermine the investigation into police brutality, which is going to come down with, I think, very damning findings against the actions of police on that night. Now, we should be, I think, very confident that all these charges, in the end, I think, will be chucked out one way or another. I don't think anyone's going to be found guilty out of any of this stuff, and I hope all those, going through the courts are staunch and have good support and can fight this all the way, because that's the way this is going to go. You just talk to anyone who was there, and look at any of the video evidence, the cops have really nothing to go on with these charges, but they'll drag them on as long as they can, especially until after the LEC investigation, and maybe after that, when it's the day before the court hearing, they'll probably drop them all, or they'll be begging you to do deals and plead guilty in exchange for dismissals and so on, to preserve their name. That's what's going on here. Anyway, the point is, of course, that we've had a good victory. As people have said, this will flow on to other things. It will flow on to help everyone in Queensland fighting against the crazy laws there, which are being fought now. There's going to be a High Court challenge against those laws, against banned phrases. And of course, even though Minns is still trying to talk tough, like he's still going to try and ban phrases here, I think that's unlikely, let's just say, at least until we'll see how Queensland goes. But I think that's very unlikely. So this has been a big victory on a whole series of fronts. But of course, the only point of this is if we keep mobilising. The whole point of this is to try and stop us mobilising for a free Palestine. We have to do the exact opposite of that, which is to keep mobilising in bigger numbers than ever. The two key things coming up, I think, is going to be, one, to keep an eye on the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, which of course is imminently going to be sailing again from Barcelona and Sicily to try and break the illegal blockade on Gaza, to bring aid there. We know Israel will attack it. We need to be ready to be mobilise whenever that happens, sometime in early May. And the next big protest around the country will be the Nakba protests here in Sydney on the 15th of May and happening all around the country. So mobilise for that. Let's keep turning out, keep standing with all those arrested. Those charges are going to be defeated one way or another, and we're going to keep fighting for the right to protest against genocide and war. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Okay, great, thanks Josh. Yep, no, definitely got a roll out for Nakba Day in Sydney. That's going to be on the 15th of May, Friday, 6 p.m. at Town Hall. So the other couple events coming up is a event for the Sydney participants of the Global Samud Flotilla, the Gaza Flotilla. That's happening 6 p.m. this Thursday at the New South Wales Teachers Federation. Yep. And then the next event from Stop the War in Palestine is our Globalise the Intifada Forum. Don't follow the Queensland ban. We're going to hear from Ahmed Oof, who's a Cumberland City Councillor, and Sarah Salo, who's a Palestinian writer. They're speaking at that forum, so if you want a leaflet for that, grab one. It's on the 5th of May. But our last speaker is Charlotte from Watch the Cops.
It's never any justice. Too many coppers!
Never any justice!
Too many coppers!
Never any justice!
Good morning. Okay, I come from a collective called Watch the Cops. And we previously called a rally right here at Downing Centre last November after the blockade of the Indo-Pacific Weapons Expo. Whilst war criminals lunched and spruiked new bombs, 12 brave people were charged, dozens arrested, hundreds pepper sprayed and brutalised in a cage in Tumbalong Park built by the New South Wales Police. Shame. Shame. That's why we rallied. That's why we called for drop charges, police accountability, repealing the anti-protest laws, justice for all black deaths in custody. On November 4th, the day of the expo, we remember thinking, this is probably the most violence a lot of us have seen in one place. But this was surely not to be the last of it. Now, as the Indo-Pacific arrestees await trial, we're here gathered for the people arrested for their resolve and courage, for flying in the face of Min's authoritarianism to protest war criminal Isaac Herzog's visit. Many people are still suffering from both the physical and mental injury of February 9th. And here we are again, having to gather outside our courts, having to call for drop charges, police accountability, repealing the anti-protest laws, justice for black deaths in custody. We have spent too many hours outside of police stations in the past 6 months, terrified for the well-being of both our friends, but also strangers, people we've never met, who have been assaulted and kidnapped by the gang known as the New South Wales Police. Shame! In the weeks following the Herzog protest, over Mardi Gras weekend, drag kings were attacked and thrown out of their own pride parade. Yay! What was their crime? Showing solidarity with Palestine, showing solidarity with other queers repressed during the Mardi Gras season. Shame. Shame! Many protesters on events such as the Herzog rally or a weapons blockade are actually released without charge. The conviction rate is also exceedingly low in New South Wales for protest-related charges. But that does not mean the violence we saw on February 9th is an anomaly. We need only look at the constant violence directed at First Nations communities, women, refugee communities, our comrades in the climate movement, and an endless list of other targeted communities. We say this to highlight
that this sadistic ritual of arrest, brutality, court proceedings, and eventual drop charges is not designed or intended to get people imprisoned en masse, unless you are Indigenous, of course. It is designed to exhaust a movement. It is designed to sow mistrust and intimidate everybody, not just those who are arrested. Police picking people out of rallies or on the street on a normal day is not about criminal behavior. It's about criminalizing behavior. Making you scared to do something different. Making you scared to show up again. But we show up even when we are scared. Because we know that police, hey Nikki, that's Nick Godson, by the way, hero of Herzog. Shame, Nick, shame. We know that police stand before every single existential threat we face. Climate collapse, war, imperial aggression, genocide, fascism, racial and class divides are bubble wrapped by police units around the globe. Police units who loiter in train stations, move on the homeless, brutalize protesters, the elderly, disabled people, people with addiction, who strip search children, abuse their power, get away with murder, abuse their families, lie in court, ruin nightlife, show up 2 hours after a crime, and leave horse shit in our streets. Despite the horrors of New South Wales Police, the way our community responds makes us so proud. Despite, yeah, give yourselves a round of applause, come on. Despite the genuine threat of these thugs and the courts, threats of losing our jobs, our livelihoods, we have created so many systems of support. Legal, emotional, political, tangible mutual aid networks of pro bono lawyers, activist skill shares, food distribution, transport, company. We have not allowed the Min's government to divide us, to make us suspicious of our own friends. We have sustained each other, where not only does the state refuse, it creates the conditions that make these things hard to access. We need to fortify these systems in the coming weeks and months. Just because the parade was deemed unconstitutional, or if we see Herzog rally protesters' charges dropped, even if there is a lull in violence, it does not mean we have escaped the kind of tyranny we have seen. Chris Minns, Yasmin Caughley, Gary Coffey, Paul Dunstan and Nick Godson would have no problem sicking their army of little Thomas Sewells on us the next chance they get. We are and will continue creating genuine practice in our oh, Nick disappeared. Couldn't handle it. Okay. We have and will continue creating genuine practice in our protest. Show up ready to decontaminate each other from OC spray. Show up alert. Attend educational events in between protests. De-escalate situations in your community before resorting to calling the police. We need to keep taking care of each other so that we can all remain in this fight. It is the habits we form when things calm down that will keep us safe and able to keep going when they inevitably ramp up again. We have a responsibility, not just to each other, but to every person our imperial colonial nation squashes down to fight until victory for all of our liberations. I'll end with a chant. I think you all know it. But we're going to change the wording slightly. So I'm going to say no justice, no peace. But you are going to say abolish the police. Are you ready? Are you ready? No justice, no peace!
Abolish the police!
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 From Adelpour to Gaza!
Normalize the Intifada!
Alright, so that ends our speaking list today, it ends our rally as well, but please stick around for a chat, grab a leaflet. There was the New South Wales Teachers Fed for the Global Community Pillar. Thursday night there's the Stop the War in Palestine Forum, May 5, and there's nothing there. They 15, 6 p.m. town hall on Friday. So let's keep up the fight, the best way we can abolish
Alright, well that seems to be it for now. A little bit of information about what's coming up, which we heard already, and that's all done. So this their cop in the middle there, he copped it. Oof, in front of in the way of the camera crew there. There's I don't know that they are actually here for it, because they're like he did a bit of filming, but he doesn't seem overly interested. I think they're here for someone else, to be honest. Oh, these guys are sheriffs, not New South Wales Sheriff Operational Support. So they're cops. I think they're cops. Sheriff. Oh, they're actually sheriffs, not cops. So that's why, because it's at court here. Anyway, that's it. All done. I'm out of here. So, you know, the young lady at the end, well, it is what it is, and she is what she is, and she has hers a word. And I don't think that everybody wants to chant abolish the police, especially if things don't go so well in their lives and they actually need the police. It's like, no, sorry, what are the police abolished? Now you're just being, you're just being beaten in your home, and no one's going to come. Sorry about that. And they're good to have complete lawlessness now. I think they have a point, of course, with a lot of the other stuff. Yeah, all right. Anyway, that's enough for me. I'll head down the street here and load all this up, and we shall be back at the next one. Look at that set. Yeah, this is inside the World Square. I'm heading back down, and I remember on the way up I saw these bikes here just dumped, and they are just like, I usually only do the bike stories when I've got when there's a march on, but I always like to point them out as the mobile garbage bins they are. You got some cake, some Absolute vodka, a milk tea, someone's had some berries. This one, they got a helmet in there, but the helmet's full of, you got a cappuccino and another juice and another drink and a whatever the fuck that is, someone else's sandwich. But yeah, anyway, so it's unusual to see them inside here. But the other thing I was going to say is that there is nobody there filming that protest today other than me. I'm the only one videoing. I look around. There's a few people that, when someone speaks, they get their friend to come and film, but there's nobody just filming like I'm filming. There's a few photographers floating around, but then that's it. So, the historic record of that protest is on Sydney Protest on Telegram. That's it. That's the limit. And, 6 people will see it. So, it's just, I don't know, the normal media that they have, the independent media that goes to these things on their behalf or whatever, through the Green Left and for other wherever they film for, they weren't there today. So just me filming. That's it. That's my that's the footage. So look, I'm happy to do it, because I think it's an important record of what happens in Sydney over this period of time I've been doing it. Since for quite a few years now, because I keep seeing these protests that come up. And then I'm like, I remember that last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. It's like been going on for years now. And then, it's quite easily made the jump last week between the, what was it, just a couple of days ago, on the weekend, they had what were you wearing group, which is called End Violence Against Women protests. And I look back at my 2024 clip, same day, same time, same group, same everything. And there were thousands of people at the march, in the beginning of the march, because they march from Belmore Park and then they go up to, and then they march up to Hyde Park. There were thousands. And then I noted 2 or 3 days ago on the weekend that there was dozens. So it had gone from thousands 2 years ago to dozens and then maybe in the end there was 100 that marched in the end when when the numbers filled out, because at the time of kickoff there were dozens of people there. That's it. There were maybe 30-40 people, and then a few more came in late. So yeah, that's just what's happened. And then these protest laws, I note it down a few times, quite a bit, are a big cause of why people are nervous about protesting now. They've seen that footage. This is the footage coming down, so coming all the way down here, down George Street. Fuck, man, I think this is just about where this chick got pushed over by the cops, and just about hit her head on this bench here. Is there anything I can... Oh no, don't. She just about hit one of these benches anyway. And another one, so the cops were just herding, they were herded across the whole street here, just push, go, move, and then they'd start running, and everyone had to run. And just a bit further down, I talked to Gary. I said to him, look, this is not right, mate. This is not right what you're doing today. And he just looked, really upset himself. He didn't want to do it. There was orders from above, but they all said today. And then this chick, her head came down and so close to bloody whacking that, get my finger out of the shot, so close to whacking her head on this fucking stainless steel bench. And then we got to this intersection here, and there's two cars pranged. There's two cars that just had a prang in the middle. They couldn't, there's cops everywhere, there's people everywhere, people are running, screaming. And just back up here too, there was these young girls that were just crying, trying to get through up here. And they were so distraught, just two young girls. Anyway, it was a fucking nightmare. I might throw the footage. So the footage is about 18. Oh, I think it's in, I kept filming too long. It was for about 22 minutes, but I think the first 18 minutes was from the top there, which is 2 streets up, which is the corner of Bathurst and George Street, which is Town Hall pretty much, opposite the KFC, all the way down to, all the way down here, left at Eddie Avenue into Central Station. And that was just the freaking most hectic thing I've experienced in my hundreds of protests that I filmed over the years. I don't know how many years now, but it's a number of hundred. It's not dozens, it's not thousands, it's hundreds. But anyway, yeah, so that was it. There's a bike, someone using one of the bikes, thankfully. Not too many littering the road today, but you got to go a little bit further down there to Central. Oh fuck, man, there's so many. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm rambling, but yeah, I'll post that on the end of this and show you what it was at the time and how it went. It was pretty freaking hectic, and I had to hurdle. I'm a fucking old man. I had to hurdle one of these benches. You don't move out of the way of the cops, you get pushed over. And I would just, I can't get pushed over at my age. I fucking probably wouldn't get up again properly. So I didn't want that to happen. So I did my best, fucking hurdling a fucking stainless steel and wood bench. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, just a quick pause to make sure the video's not too long. So they're pushing down they went very hard for a minute there. That was insane. And people are leaping the benches like, what do you call it in the Olympics? Oh, she lost her bottle or something. These guys are sitting here. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Whoa, that was a big one. That's too much, right?
Turn and disperse from this area. The area is closed. Please turn and disperse.
That was lucky.
Turn and disperse.
She came down hard. Gary, wait. It's on now, it's going fast again. Whoa, another one down. Oh, these guys are having a bang here. Fuck, it's too much, man. This is so unnecessary. The level is too much. You don't want to be behind them. Is he behind? Yeah, this guy, he's just delivering his batteries, those fucking bikes. Wow, there's no stopping. These two had a crash in the middle of it all, and now we're coming past the World Square now, and the cops in the middle are way ahead, so they'll probably have to ease up a bit because the cops here are coming up. But there's so many dangerous obstacles. You've got like fucking bikes everywhere. You got these bollards. You got benches. You just got random people. It's just done it hasn't been done the right way. I'd say, you know, it's like, and the cops might have something to answer to for this one. It's just a little too. I've been, had a few myself, but I'm on my toes. I'm keeping moving. This guy's going the wrong way, buddy. And these girls are crying. It's pretty fun. It's too much. It's too much. Oh. These girls are just distraught. Because they only want to get them a little bit more to Goulburn Street. So dangerous, the pushing, the shoving. You got little kids crying, there's fucking posts everywhere. This guy's coming in hot. Yeah, they're looking so fucking aggro. They're just so wrong. They're worked up. The cops are worked into a fucking lather. They're just walking over some homeless guy's bed. I hope he's not in the bloody thing, in his little swag. But this is the end of the line coming up now. The end of the line is going to be, yeah. The end of the line will be, whoa. Yeah, the end of the line is Goulburn Street, which we're just about there. Fucking just keep moving. It's a mad fucking rush at the end. It's so impossible. Yeah, fire engine trying to come through. Fuck, this is just wrong on so many levels. It is. Now they'll just get back again. The cops are just, that was unnecessarily, unnecessary. And I always think that Gary guy's not a bad cop of what he does, but that was just, he fed that shit, and it was way too much. So he did say Goulburn Street on the LRAD, which is the fuckers thing, the shit thing as well. So this is the end of the line. LRAD, yeah. So they're just going to mark this off now. Oh fuck, they're on again. Off again. I thought it was at Goulburn Street. That wasn't good, Gary, today. That wasn't good, man. That was very dangerous a lot of ways. That's all right.
Well, you keep marching us down, George Street. Where do you want us to go, man?
You said Goulburn. You said Goulburn Street before. All right. I don't want to push. I'm an old man. Fuck. All right. Yeah. So much for Goulburn Street. Now it's on the way again. And if you're near him, you've got to be nervous. So you're going to get a push and a push over. It's fucking wrong. Anyway, I confronted him about it, and he just kind of shrugged it off. Even the leftist media and the right and the not so left media, they're just chit chatting a bit today. Far out, man. This has been insane. And you really got to watch these fucking benches. They're a killer. If I should stay high or low here. Getting a bit of... They pick on some guys. Fuck. So now they're having another break for a second and keep the line, he's saying, over there. This is insane. Even the people. Oh, look, that was Rub and Tug, but it's a coffee training. Rub and Tug's the next level. Look at it. They're even looking down, wondering what's going on. But here we have the Lunar. This is the Lunar Festival. Come to Sydney. Enjoy the hospitality of Sydney for the Lunar New Year. What is it? Like a bus? Or what do you call those things? A tuk-tuk. I don't think that's exactly too Chinese, but anyway. So we're down coming past Starbucks, Bucks. So they said they're going to go all the way to bloody Central. Wait. Stop. We're just eating it up. Yeah. Wow. This one for the history books. That's the guy. He asked me my channel the other day. Paddy something or other. Fuck me. I've got a sweat going and I drank all my. The guy gave me a water. I drank the whole bloody lot. Keep an eye out for a bubbler. We got a little bit of a breather for this bit because it's flat now. The other bit was extra dangerous because it's downhill. You ever seen anything like it? It's crazy. He's a photographer guy. All right. If you start to dawdle, if you start to dawdle, you're going to get a shove. It's not like you're asking for one. You're just going to get one. I guess the people at the front. If you're up the front, you don't have to worry. It's only the people back. It's time to run. They let those ladies go. They were just I think those ladies were just at the movies or at the theatre or something. They didn't want to get involved in this. All right. I want to stay on the line, but I'm nervous about a push. It's probably easy to, yeah, just stay down this end. Fuck. And you got these fucking bikes here. The Uber driver just sitting there having a break, and they seem to leave. If you're just kind of there, I think you get left alone. If you're part of it, I'm going to do a crisscross because these guys are eyeing me off too much here. Well, yeah, they really like pushing him, but he does dawdle. He gets off. Yeah, he's a big target, isn't he? Yeah.
That fits us if they go for the easy.
Oh, okay. There you go. So the guy says because he's a big target, they get him. But it's like once it's coming at you, it's pretty fucking frightening. It doesn't, it's pretty scary, and it's a real. It's quite the pace. This guy's the one who makes me nervous. I'm going to get away from him. He's kind of got. I think they might be marking people, and I think I'm marked by him. Let's try the other side. I just like this pub here, Mountbatten, the Mountbatten Hotel. So we're coming down here. So the cops on this side, they are having a easier run. Oh, there's cars coming down here now. There's cars. Look. Palestine will be free. It's just telling them to stop. Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. I was going to cut through, but next one. These people are just in their car. Go, what the fuck's going on here? Oh, they're stopping now because they want to send them up that street, I guess. Fuck. These guys coming out of the Great Southern, or the Rub and Tug, the Thai Great Southern, I think. Yeah, that's a really dangerous situation. Very, very dangerous, and not like I know they get their orders, but surely they weren't given orders to do that sort of shit. That cameraman guy's talking back a bit. So these guys are going to run up and whoa. Where the fuck they're running somewhere. And they're going to run up and then block it so people are turned. People have to turn that way. Gary's on his own here, out on his own, getting yelled at a bit. So I think they want everyone. Whoa! Fuck them. They ran then. That's just wrong. That is so wrong. Josh, what do you think about the behaviour of the cops tonight?
That's obviously fucking appalling.
There you go. Yeah, I told Gary the same thing as he was doing it. There you go. That's the PAG. Josh Lee's absolutely fucking appalling. What do you think about the cops tonight? And now look, now that when they've got people jammed into smaller areas, you know, what do they do? You can't just barrel. Anyway. This guy's wanting to go somewhere and telling him no. I think he's just a backpacker. So the cops are stopping here. So the big hat cops, these guys are always in charge of the protest, but there's never been anything like this over all the years. Never anything like it. You know. Yeah. There's the push. The push is coming. So then they're back to speed again now. They ease off a bit and then they speed up again. Staying close to that. Hold the line, they're saying, the coppers. So whoever's behind the line is fucking either going to get pushed to the front or get run off. He's getting pushed out the front. I don't know what he did, but some shit happened then. Sorry, it's a bit wobbly. I'm trying to walk and look where I'm going, and yeah, straight into the green lights for everyone. Just push them in. Yeah, they're moving again. Up again.
Keep walking! Good walking!
So we're up at the Eddie. This is Eddie Avenue now. So yeah. I guess I can walk backwards now because I'm on the tram track, so I can't get hit by anything much as the tram comes. And if they start moving, I start moving. But it's a cracking pace. I'm lathering. All right, they're slowing up again. I think it's a kind of slow up, catch up. Horses are in the back still. I had a few light pushes, so I don't want to see if I can make it out without a heavy push. But this guy's just minding his beeswax. They're jumping over.